5 games more specifically, just to narrow down a little bit of what he's been able to do a lot better going forward. So I'm gonna look at that, and then I'm also gonna look at how his activity on defense has been really great for the Raptors, and especially because he's coming off the bench, so the energy not just on offense to get out on the break and creating shots, and getting shots, but also helping out on defense, and then as well as how he sets up his teammates. Okay, because that's also important. The way he sets up his teammates is something that he's been doing more recently. It's a small sample size, it's not that much that he's been doing lately, but it's still important for his development and how he can also impact the game in other ways while he's on the court. Okay, so that's what we're looking at today, and so I'm just gonna quickly here go into the last 21 games. All right, so the first 21 games. So if we're looking at the first 20 games of the season, he struggled a lot, and I mean when I say a lot, fans were criticizing him in terms of whether or not he's the right fit. Was he the right pick for the Raptors? And he was 19 at the time, and he didn't even hit 20 yet. He's 20 years old now, so there's a lot of criticism early on, and it showed in the stats as well how much he struggled. So he only had 12.4 minutes per game, or he was averaging 12.4 minutes per game. Coach Darko was still getting used to what he can do, and obviously Coach Darko had to deal with a lot of other things too as a new coach for the Raptors. So maybe he wasn't too focused on Gradey just yet. He only averaged 3.4 points per game, but this is the stat that most people were worried about because he had games where he was 0 for 4, 0 for 5, 0 for 3. He had a game where he was 1 for 8. So 21% 3-point percentage looks like a huge issue for a guy that the Raptors selected to fix, quote unquote, not necessarily fix, but to help out in that department, and maybe somebody that can come in and get shots that are valuable to the team and create for himself and things like that. So that was the concerning part. And there was a lot of criticism about it, but then he went to the G League. So they put him down to the G League and they experimented with that, getting his confidence up. And that actually helped him a lot. And apparently Coach Darko as well worked with him in terms of creating some sort of plan with him and how he can come back into the rotation with the team. And so when they called him back up, he was doing a lot better since January. But specifically the last 5 games, he's been averaging 20 minutes per game. So that's a huge jump from what he was averaging the first 21 games, right? And so the team the coach is trusting him a lot more now. So 20 minutes per game, his numbers for the points per game went up. It was at 3, now it's at 10. So that's a significant jump, right? And it's showing as well in his confidence. And when we look at the film, you'll be able to see what I mean by that, okay? But 10.2 points per game, his field goal percentage in general has gone up because he's taking more shots that are not just threes anymore. And that's also part of the development and something that he's been improving on. And that's why I put that percentage there, because it's not just him shooting threes. He's also doing other things, getting into the lane, trying to get shots up on the break in terms of layups, getting into the defender. So movement like that he hasn't done or he wasn't doing at the beginning of the season. And so 54.5 3-point percentage is the thing that the Raptors have been looking at more closely. Fans have been looking at it a lot more closely. And he's doing amazing. And that's something that obviously with more reps again and more shot attempts, right now he's averaging 4.4 3-point shots a game. That's how much he's attempting. And so I think comfortably when he becomes, and I'm saying this early, but I think he's going to become a starter. But when he becomes a starter, he'll be able to be more comfortable in the position and even put up at least 5 3-pointers a game, especially because of the spacing that's going to be developed around him now that we know a little bit more of who the personnel is going to be on the team post trade deadline. Because that was kind of also the issue about who's going to stay, who's going, what does it open up, right? Now with Schroeder gone as well, who was a big component coming off the bench. Now Gradey is in that position where he gets majority of the minutes. So things like that. And so 54 and a half 3 point percentage is amazing. Okay. I'm going to take a look at one more thing. And this is a shot chart of Gradey's shooting, right? In terms of just in general. So if we're looking at his shots in general, now it looks pretty bad, right? So you're looking at this and you're seeing a lot of red, which means he's below league average. But this is also from the whole season, right? Including the first 21 games. And you can see the areas that he struggles in, and it's usually the right hand side more so, but also parts of the left hand side of the court, right? But he has better shooting range in the corner here, the left hand corner. And I think naturally that just makes more sense because as a right-handed player, you tend to go towards your left, and as a shooter, you tend to go towards your left because it's easier to set up the shot. It's also a position or a place where teammates can find him in transition and things like that. It's just an easier pass if you're if or to be able to see a person here in the left hand side. And actually, the Raptors in general, they shoot a lot better in the left hand side altogether. I broke down some film in general with the Raptors against the Spurs, even though they lost that game. But in general, their left hand side of the court is much better than the right hand side in terms of shooting because they do have a lot of right-handed shooters. And so Gradey as well does that well. He does well here in terms of just inside the key. I mean, just inside the 3 point line. Sorry, and you could tell that his league average versus the league average, he does significantly better. And so those things are going to improve, obviously, and it's going to look a lot different at the end of the season. I'll probably revisit this at the end of the season just to see the difference. Okay. So we have that. Okay, so now let's look at some film because obviously that's why we're here. We want to see what is he doing, how is he shooting, how is he shooting, what kind of shots does he get? Are they even running plays for him, or is he getting shots off on broken plays, things like that? So I'm gonna go back to, again, like I said, last 5 games, and I'm starting with Charlotte. By the way, the Raptors went 2-3 in the last 5 games, and so there wasn't that great before the break. I expected them to win the game against the Spurs, worst team in the West, but Wemby had something to say about that. But anyways, so let's take a look at the shots that he's been getting here. Okay, so I'm going to share this tab here. Okay, so this is the game against Charlotte, and I'm going to let it run first. So we're going to get some footage of what happened specifically, and then I'll stop it and let it play again, and I'll so again, sorry. So let me just. So we're going to look at Gradey's shots here. Just pause this one for a sec because I just want to get the shots against Charlotte Hornets going forward and Houston and things like that. So let's do it from here. Okay. All right. So this was one of the shots that he had against Charlotte Hornets. And I'll replay this again. Okay. So you see that shot. Okay. It doesn't look like there's anything there, but we want to see where he starts off first. Okay. So he's in the corner here. He's wide open here right now, but the play is developing over here in the opposite end, right? The pick and roll is happening between IQ and Jakob Portal. And so, there's not an opportunity right now for Gradey to even ask for the ball yet, but you'll see how the ball gets to him and his movement as well to get towards the wall and in position to shoot. Okay. So as the play develops, Gradey's still in the corner there. And obviously IQ sees what's happening. So there's nothing there. He's going to swing it to RJ Barrett, and then the ball will get to Gradey. As I think Bruce Brown here, what's going to happen is either going to cut or he's going to shift. And so you'll see the difference here. So just like I said here, RJ got the ball. Bruce Brown is cutting towards the basket. That gives space for Gradey. And, this is funny because not all teammates do this. Okay, so in this situation with Bruce Brown just cutting into the middle, like he knows he has Grady there beside him, so it makes sense for him to just cut towards the basket, provide an opening for Grady to shift closer and in position to have a better shot, right? It makes it an easier pass as well for RJ. And so continues here. So as soon as Grady gets the ball, by the way, no hesitation, confidence, right? And this is something that he wasn't doing in the beginning of the season. If you watch some of the video there, he was always hesitating, not sure what he wanted to do. He was trying to play to the to the stars on the team. It was different personnel, all those things, right? So so we continue here. He gets a nice shot. So that's a good development in terms of what the Raptors have been doing in general while he's on the court and his teammates, right? So again, I'm going to let this play first, and then we're going to see how we can cut this down. Okay. So there's a shot there by Grady. Scotty Barnes gets him the nice pass. So if we go back here to the play initially, so Jonte Porter has the ball here, and this is a game against Houston, and he gets the ball to Scotty Barnes after Grady was had some motion towards the other side of the floor because Barnes was trying to set a pick for him. That didn't work out. Barnes gets the ball. Okay, so as soon as Barnes gets the ball, the movement here by Grady has also been impressive, right? In the sense of he's not just sitting there, right? So he's moving towards the basket, creating something different. Okay, and so as he goes towards the basket here, he cuts back to the corner. And what's going to happen here is Barnes has a smaller player on him, Holiday, as a defender. So he's going to go towards the basket. And Noira in this situation is going to go to the basket. And that allows for Grady to slip into the corner there, where if you remember from the shot chart, he loves that corner shot on that end, the left-hand side. And so that's where Barnes is going to get him the ball. And so just that movement of knowing where to go on the court, that says a lot about his development in terms of being confident and seeing that the play is about to develop and it might come into his hands at one point in time, right? So again, that's what Noira does. He goes towards the basket, and it allows for Grady to be open there. They had a bit of a confusion, Jeff Green here and Cam Whitmore, the players for the Rockets, in terms of who was going to step up on Grady. And so this is where Grady gets a nice open shot here, and that goes in. So I'm going to let this play through, and then we'll look at the next shot that he gets here. So just let that play first. Okay. And then this is just a pure confidence on his end to maneuver through the defense and get himself an open shot. Hey, Fahim, I think you're in here. If you want to join me, come on up, man. I don't mind you being up here. Maybe you might see something as well. But yeah, this is where Grady's development and it's into the later half of the season, or the second part of the season. I think he's going to do a lot better. Okay, but continuing here. So I'm going to stop it after this play here. So it's just a typical pick and roll with IQ and Jakob Portal. Okay, and IQ actually does a good job of identifying where Grady is on the court. And it's actually a difficult pass to make because it's his left hand and going towards the left, right? So as we let the play develop a little bit more, he finds Grady on the side there, and his defender is a little bit off on him. Grady is just going to utilize the pump fake at first, right? His defender actually does a good job of staying with him. I think that's Jayshawn Tate of the Houston Rockets. And so the other thing that Grady just does is just sidesteps him and pump fakes again, right? And so this would have never happened in the beginning of the season for Grady. I think at this point, as you can see here, IQ is up here, Gary Trent Jr., they're just sitting there like wondering if Grady's going to pass this up or if he's going to take the shot. And in fact, this is just Grady just trying to be in rhythm, playing with more confidence. The Raptors are up as well. Maybe he can, play around a little bit, experiment in terms of what he can and can't do on the court. And Coach Darko actually does a good job of giving his young guys confidence And he's talked about that with a lot of players, even dating back to Malachi Flynn at the beginning of the season. Even though he was traded, it's something that he does well with his players. He gives them confidence to do what they need to do on the court when they're out there. And then so Gradey gets this basket here. Okay. Fast forwarding a little bit to another part of the game here, another different game, sorry, against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They they lost this game. That doesn't matter. See, these are the things where I'm looking at. It doesn't matter if they lost or won. I'm looking at the development of Gradey in general. Okay, and so thanks for him. I appreciate that. So we're looking at against the game against Cleveland, and so in this out of bounds play, Gradey actually, I think it was called for Gradey. This was a good job. I think he got called for a play here, and this is something that the Raptors are trusting him with, and Coach Darko is trusting him with in terms of setting out of bounds plays for him. So Scotty Barnes is going to inbound the ball here, and so there's going to be some action between Gradey and I think that's Oche up here, the new addition to the Raptors, along with Kelly Olynyk on the court. And what's going to happen is Oche is going to receive a back screen from Gradey, and then he's going to curl around. Kelly Olynyk is going to step up in front here to set a pick for him, and Grady's going to loop around and get a pass from Barnes, leading to an open three, which is on the left-hand side of the court again, and the corner shot, which Gradey does amazing. And we'll look back at the shot chart again just to show you near the end here. So we'll let this play develop. So it sets the back screen, gets the pick from Kelly Olynyk here so that he can loop around, makes it such an easy pass for Barnes to make. And I credit as well Kelly for setting that pick as well, because without a good pick, you won't be able to get an open shot. And so Gradey just knows where to go, and he's sprinting, right? He's not taking his time. He's not letting the play develop. He's not hesitating, wondering, am I going to get the pass here? Is he going to even pass me the ball? And that's something, if you watch the Raptors from the beginning of the season, people were complaining about, or fans were complaining about, how slow the development of each play was happening. And so now that they're getting used to each other, and Gradey especially, he has that opportunity to just sprint to the ball, confidence in knowing that his teammates are going to find him. So he gets the ball here from Barnes and just rises and hits the three. Okay, so that's another part of Gradey's game that, for me personally, and we'll see more footage against the San Antonio Spurs, but when he's getting plays called for him, it gives him way more confidence than just, forcing his teammates to find him in the corner or things like that. And that's why I think he might end up starting at some point in time near the end of the season, hopefully, or the last, maybe even last 15 games. With 27 games are left for the Raptors, but I'm hoping even the last 15 games give Gradey reps as a starter, see what he can do, and if that changes anything. It might not make Gary Trent Jr. happy, but that's kind of where we are in the season, or the way the Raptors have been playing so far this season. And so let's see what happens here in this play first. I'll just run it, and then I'll go back and dissect it a little bit. Okay, so just going back here. So initially, what's happening is they're in transition. Scotty Barnes slows the ball down, right? Trying to see what he has out here. He calls for a pick from Kelly Olynyk, and so Kelly is going to jump up here, set a screen for him. Barnes does a good job of using the screen, but then also directs traffic. So he actually tells Bruce Brown to go down to the corner so that Gradey could come up. And I've noticed this as well in the last few games, especially where Barnes is actually trying to get Gradey involved in the offense, because he's playing the point guard position with the second unit. And that's what Barnes actually has been doing with the Raptors in the absence of Schroeder since the trade deadline, is that Barnes is playing with the second unit a lot more often and running the point guard position. And he's actually getting Gradey involved a lot more, which is great to see as well. And so he directs traffic, tells Bruce Brown to go down to the corner. That allows Gradey to step up a little bit. And what Gradey does in terms of what he does is, in terms of a good job here, is he doesn't come up too high, right? Because if he does that, the defender is right there. So it actually allows Barnes to give him a better pass here, and Gradey is a lot more open in that sense. And so that's where Gradey gets a cleaner shot, and he's just, again, just his confidence just to rise up. He doesn't hesitate. He's not wondering if I should take it or not. He just does it, right? And that's what I like to see. So just continuing here, and continuing into the blowout of the Raptors, but it's all right. This is where Grady gets another shot up. Okay, and so just seeing that play. Let's go back again. All right, and so sorry, just So RJ attacks the basket, right, as per usual. He's one of the best Raptors players in terms of just going downhill, and he only has one speed, which is go downhill and create for teammates or get the bucket. And so RJ goes towards the basket here, sees that Jarrett Allen comes to help out. It leads to a kick out to Kelly. So in this play specifically, I think should be credited for creating this play, but it also helps that Grady is on the right side of the play here, right? Knowing that Barrett is left-handed, he likes going towards the left. This is the weak side of the court. It's going to leave a lot of holes here, and Kelly Olynyk does a good job, the new addition to the Raptors, of finding Grady immediately and allowing him to get an open shot. As you can see how open they are right now, both of them are. And so Kelly just swings it, easy pass to make, gets Grady the shot up here. I like what they're doing here. I want to see more of Raptors running a play for him. This is just Grady just creating off the bounce, and in the beginning of this breakdown, I was mentioning how his field goal percentage was going up because he doesn't just shoot threes anymore. He also creates plays for himself. Okay, and this is what he'll probably get used to. The more he plays, the more he gets minutes, the more he gets reps, and feeling confident out there. And he hits an incredible up and under to the other side of the basket. Difficult shot for anyone to make, any NBA player, but he does a good job there. There's nothing really to break down. That's just him just doing his thing, kind of freestyling there, and knowing that with the defender in his face, he just pump faked and then going back or going towards the basket, sorry, and then just doing the up and under here. Okay. That was something nobody expected. And I remember when it happened, I was like, all right, Grady, that's good to see. And so the game against the Spurs, and this is where I was kind of upset after a certain point where Grady was on the court and they weren't calling plays for him. He was playing his butt off in the game against the Spurs, and he was actually the only player getting shots, quality shots, and he was playing with energy. And I was actually upset that they didn't run more plays for him because he had a stretch there where he was 5 for 5. And so this is a play here where he just gets out in transition. And this is a part of the game, again, where he looks like he's not comfortable, but he's doing it anyways. And that's what I like about him, is that he's trying something that typically you don't see from him. And you can see how awkward the shot is, but going into somebody's body like that is a difficult shot for anybody to make. It doesn't matter that they're NBA players, but they practice these types of shots, and it's good that he's out there forcing the issue and not just taking it back out and trying to, go for a three or finding a teammate instead, right? And so he just goes straight to the basket, gets a difficult shot, but the more reps he has of these types of plays, the better he's going to get. So why not try it now? This is the best time to do it. So remember what I said about Barnes looking for Grady when he's out there? And so Barnes right here, Scotty Barnes does a good job of directing traffic and calling for Grady to come towards the ball because he knows that Grady has a hot hand in this sense. And so Barnes does a better job of just directing traffic, calling Grady to come towards the ball. And Grady here, and I thought this was just a brave shot to take here because the defenders are right there. They're not necessarily playing off of him, but Grady just rises and takes the opportunity, especially the way the play was going. It didn't seem like they were going to get a better shot anyways. Guys were staying home on all their players. It was just a one-on-one with Barnes. And so Grady just taking this shot, I didn't even mind him doing this because he was also playing well already. And so getting that shot up didn't bother me at all, but he also hits it. So that's always a bonus. So I'll let this play run first, and then we'll take a look. Okay, so this is another play here where I think they called this one for Gradey, and I think they need to continue doing more of these plays. And you'll see a different play here as well later on. Sorry, and you'll see what I mean in terms of different types of shots that he's taking, and it's not just threes, right? So um, Kelly Olynyk sets a down screen here for Gradey to come out of the corner where he usually starts from, and then he's just going to get towards where IQ can give him a nice pass, and so Gradey here typically would have just taken the three. And so he's trying to show a different part of his game where he goes towards the basket out of that curl motion here. And I think for him to go downhill would probably have been better. He takes a sidestep a little before taking the shot. But again, just him doing this is amazing to see for as a Raptors fan in terms of his development. And he's only 20 years old, right? So you have to take that into account as well in terms of what he's doing well for the Raptors. I'm just gonna let this play first, and then I'll. Okay, so this was more credit to IQ getting the ball to Gradey, but just Gradey being involved in a play is a bonus, right? Instead of him just sitting in a corner and waiting for the ball to get to him, right? And so IQ gets a screen here, or Grady's trying to set a screen. It doesn't work as well, but IQ gets the ball nonetheless from Kelly Olynyk. And then what IQ does well here is that he just knows where Gradey is, and he understands that if he starts going downhill, he has Zach Collins on him, that there's going to be a help defender, and I think it's Sheedy Osman here, who's going to cheat off his man and play as kind of like, a threat to help. And so IQ recognizes that, and he makes a great pass with the left hand here to Gradey. And you could see Sheedy Osman wasn't even paying attention initially. He didn't have any clue what was going to happen in that play. And so Gradey is always just ready. He has his hands out already to take that shot. And so he gets that shot to go down. Okay. So this was later in the game where, the Raptors were down. He just gets a shot up here. I think this is also part of his game, part of the point in the game where, he knows that he doesn't have to worry about taking a shot. He's not going to be criticized for it. But I like this movement here where Gradey goes towards the basket. Kelly Olynyk does a good job of just finding him here. And again, instead of Gradey staying in the corner, and I think Jeremy Sohan didn't expect this either. He thought Gradey was going to go into the corner, so he just played a neutral position. But Gradey goes in behind him and finds an open spot in the paint, and Kelly Olynyk does a nice job of getting him the ball early, where Wemby is still getting back, but he's not going to be back in time to contest this shot. When I say in time, I mean as in not getting the goaltend. Okay, so Wemby still had a hand in there. Man, this guy's 6'7", 5". He's going to definitely have a hand in it in every possession in the paint. But again, that's what Gradey does well here. Okay, and so I'm going to stop it here because it becomes where it gets to a point where Gradey is just getting shots up in the time that's left in the game when the Raptors are in blow up. But I do want to show Gradey setting up his teammates and then also getting steals and being active on the defensive end. And so I'll just switch it up to this tab here. Okay. So it's going to be the next play. So it's not this one, the play after this one. But let this play. So this was just a simple pass that Gradey does or makes to Bruce Brown to get into the basket. But I want to point out this play because this was a play against the Houston Rockets, and this shows his activity on defense, but then also being able to recognize who he has on offense and who's running with him on the break. And so Gradey does a good job playing defense here on Holiday to start the play where they end up turning the ball over, the Rockets do, and the Raptors just have the possession right after this. And so they're going out on the run. So Porter gets the ball to Gradey, and Gradey immediately recognizes that, or Brown at least recognizes that he's wide open, and Grady's going to find that out in just a split second here and gets the ball to Bruce Brown. And so he's able to recognize where his teammates are on the break. And especially because when I was watching him earlier in the season, there were moments where he was out on the break. He wasn't sure who to get the ball to, and he was just hesitating. He would stop actually at certain points. It would have been nice to actually pull out video like that, but that's we can do that maybe later into this season and revisit some of these things. But we're looking at some of the things that he does well in terms of finding his teammates. Okay, and so this is a point where it's just a matter of being a threat on offense, but also being able to recognize what the defense is doing, and that's actually pretty difficult for a young player to do, especially in his first season. How many games in, right? So he gets the ball here, and initially he kind of fakes the pass. Nobody's falling for that because they're all in position. But Gradey Dick does a good job of noticing that, there's three guys there. There's something wrong here. And so Grady takes a look at the basket, making it seem like he's going to take a shot here. He doesn't. Takes a step back, and as soon as because these two guys weren't communicating well, I think that's Niang and I think this Okoro of the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were trying to communicate as, who has Olynyk and who should go back and play in position to Oche. And so Grady notices that, and both guys had their backs against the play, or their sides against the play, in the sense of they weren't even paying attention to what was happening. And Grady recognizes this after the pump fake, and he gets the ball to Olynyk here for a quick three. And so this is part of his game where he's showing his IQ. And we're not talking about Manuel quickly. We're talking about Grady's IQ and finding the right guys on offense. Okay. And so we have that play. This is the more recent game against the Pacers. This was last night. And I really like this play because, again, they're running plays for Grady on the opposite side here. Kelly Olynyk gets the ball. Brown sets some sort of screen. It's not really a screen here initially to get Grady the ball. So Grady recognizes that the defender's right there, takes the ball towards the basket, but understands that Brown is going to probably cut towards the paint here. And Brown does a good job of doing that, but also that's recognizing who your personnel is, right? Knowing who's on your team, who does what well, right? And we all know that Brown is more of a threat inside than he is, taking jump shots or threes, right? And so gets the ball to Bruce Brown here, and when you see the play develop, it leads to a wide open play for Brown here to just take it to the bucket, right? And Grady recognizes that so quickly, and he's able to get his teammate an open dunk here. And Bruce Brown was killing it yesterday, especially against his former team. And so that was him trying to set his teammates up, and the more that they run plays for Grady, the more you'll see that there's openings for Grady to set his teammates up, right? So that's kind of one thing. And now I'm going to show you his activity on defense and just anticipating plays and recognizing what the offense is doing and how he can impact the defensive end as well. And so we'll take a look at this tab here, where we'll see some of his plays against the Houston, starting from the game against the Houston Rockets. So again, I'm specifically looking at the last 5 games of the Raptors, and that's why you see a lot of this footage is from the last 5 games, because he's doing a lot better now than he did the first 21 games. And we'll revisit again those stats and the shooting chart. So here in the game against Houston, although the Rockets were up big, he's still playing with energy. He's not giving up in terms of not participating in the play or not being interested. So here you have Cam Whitmore being doubled, and so he gets the ball out to Amen Thompson, and Grady just hanging in there. He's watching what the offense is doing. He still knows where his man is, which is technically Jae'Sean Tate. He recognizes that Barnes is probably going to fall back here, or Jakob Poeltl is supposed to fall back here, and somebody was supposed to pick up Jeff Green. But Grady does a good job of anticipating where the ball is going to go, and he's just going to take his chances, and he goes straight for the ball here, right? And so his activity on defense and his IQ to get to the spot where he knows the play is going to develop into is something that we should take notice of as fans and understand that, Grady's doing a good job on that end as well. He's not just an offensive guy, right? He plays defense. So this play here, it just a simple. It was a turnover by the Rockets. Grady was credited with the steal, but that's a good thing. Okay. This wasn't necessarily a steal. I don't know why they credited him here for a steal. I'll let the play develop. There was another play. At the end of that play, he actually gets a steal, and I don't know why they didn't show that footage or they don't have that footage. I was trying to find it, couldn't get it. But let me just look at this play here, where Grady anticipates the lob in the back there. Even though initially he was lost, he gets himself back into position. So the idea of not giving up as well, right? And on a play, and we've seen a lot of players do this. NBA players do this all the time. They take plays off, and Grady is not trying to do that, right? And the reason I think personally is obviously he's trying to show that he's an NBA caliber type of player, but he's also trying to get more minutes when he's out there. He's trying to stay on the court, and that's what every young person should try to do. And he's doing a good job. He's not giving up on any play here. And so Zion, is up here and he's operating against Jakob. That's probably where they wanted the play to go, but there was a back screen set. And I'm trying to remember who the player is that's going to come up in the back here for the Pelicans. Nonetheless, Grady, quickly recognized that he's out of position, but he gets himself back into the play, and he looks behind him, he sees where the ball is going, and just getting a hand in there is enough to disrupt this alley-oop, which should have been an easy bucket for the Pelicans if Grady just gave up on the play, right? And so in this case, just knowing that he's still capable of going back is really important for the Raptors to see, and for fans to also appreciate in that sense too. Here, this was a two-man game, and Grady is part of the play, and so it's actually pretty funny because Grady anticipates this play so early that the ball just lands on his laps and in his lap, and he just gets a steal, right? So if you look at this play here, Grady is probably trying to be exploited here by Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. trying to run a play. And so it's going to be a quick pick. And so what's going to happen is Smith tries to set a pick, and Jalen Green uses it some in a way, but then also is trying to get the pass up. But Grady does a good job of knowing where Jabari Smith is, trying to disrupt the play as much as possible. And then Jalen Green's not known for being a great passer anyways. And so Jalen Green thought this was going to be an easy or a textbook, pick and roll. But instead, Grady recognizes immediately where the play is going. And he also notices that Jabari Smith is not going towards the basket. So he definitely wants the ball out in the three-point line. That doesn't get it, right? And Grady just gets the steal right here, which was amazing in that sense, or just to see what was happening or see the development of the play. Grady's effort here, the beginning of this play, just at a loose ball, just trying to jump and dive for it, again, shows his effort, his willingness to be out there and do all the right things while he's out there, even on defense, right? Not necessarily in offense, because that's what we were all paying attention to, how his shot was developing, but he's also showing that he can play a little bit of defense as well. Gets himself back into position after the dive towards the ball, and he's playing defense against McConnell. He's a taller defender, so he knows that he can, disrupt his shot if McConnell decides to do that. And so here, McConnell tries to do a jump pass towards Isaiah Jackson, but as Grady's hand is up there, it disrupts the pass that McConnell is trying to make. So if we just go back again, so from the beginning, so his effort here, just diving for the ball and then finding his man and still getting his hand up and knowing that whether or not he was trying to shoot the ball McConnell was, or get the ball to Isaiah Jackson, he's obviously wide open here. But his activity and ability for him to put his hand up and getting that help defense from Gary Trent Jr. also supported Grady here in that sense as well. And there was a deflection here. And so he gets the steal, which leads to the play on the other end. They don't show it on this play, but what ends up happening is Bruce Brown gets a monster jam on the other end of the floor. And so Grady has been doing a lot of great things for the Raptors. And it's not just on the offensive end. It's not just shooting. It's not just, defense. He's doing everything he can all together, and he's improving his areas that he's weak at right now. And so I'm just going back to the shot chart because I wanted to mention how if you saw a lot of the video that where he's taking a lot of shots, it was towards the corner, and that one out of bounds play, it was towards the corner, and it was the left hand side of the court. That's what he does well. And again, just showing the last 5 games how well he's been doing. 20 minutes per game, getting a lot more reps in with Barnes, which is important because that's, I think, the players that are going to be, leading the team in the future, along with RJ and IQ, right? And so you have to get him reps with Barnes, the star player on the team. And then his numbers are going up in terms of scoring, his field goal percentage, again, not just shooting threes, he's also getting his jump shots, layups, things like that. And then his 3-point shot, which is going down, which finally is a good thing and something that Raptors fans can say he's doing well and he's not struggling in anymore. Okay. That's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to break down those elements of Gradey's game, and hopefully I did a good enough job to break that down for you guys to see what's been happening with Gradey lately and how well he's doing and what he's been doing well. So if you guys like that, just make sure I'm also live streaming this on YouTube. If you like this, make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, and let me know your thoughts on Gradey Dick and whether you think he's going to be a starter down the line. That's it for me. Hey, Fahim, if you're still here, you want to do a quick chat, we can do that too.